put this computer. Right. So we're recording now, and I'll just start out. My name is Richard Lee. I'm a retired USCIS fraud detection, national security immigration officer. I've worked for 20 years with USCIS, both as an officer who granted permanent residency and later on as an investigator of fraud, marriage fraud, business fraud, asylum fraud, the whole gambit of different kinds of fraud that might occur. Um, and I'm doing a project with individuals who have been defrauded and been harmed by the immigration process. And I'm going to let you introduce yourself if you would, and just let people know who you are.
My name is Carolina. I'm a U.S. citizen.
Mhm.
I am also a nurse. I live in California.
Okay.
I've been a citizen since 2017. I was naturalized here. And
Congratulations. I
yeah,
used to love to do, I used to do naturalization ceremonies. In Georgia, we can do them as officers if you're a supervisor or manager. I loved doing the ceremonies. They were a lot of fun to do. So that was good times.
very
Congratulations.
good.
Now
Thank you.
you came on my radar because you had some marriage issues and marriage fraud issues with your spouse, and I'd just like you to just briefly tell me about that, if you could, about how you met your spouse, what happened, what entailed, if you don't mind.
So I met him October last year,
Hmm.
and through friends,
Yes.
like Brazilian friends. I'm naturally from Brazil.
Yes.
And in at the end of the month, beginning of November, mid-November, we started dating.
Hmm.
And a month and a half after that, um, he before that, actually, I asked him to move in, so we got to get to know each other better,
Yes.
and possibly, get married. And he said, I will only move in if I get married. And I got the big red flags right there, because I
Yes.
was like,
Hmm.
like we don't even know each other,
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
at this point, I was already like in love with him, because he
Yeah.
was very uh, attractive, and he kind of said that seduced me, and then I knew he disclosed to me he didn't have a green card,
Yeah.
but one thing he didn't disclose to me was that he was on removal proceedings.
Mm. Okay. Now, where's
Yeah.
he from? What country is he from?
Brazil.
Oh, he's from Brazil as well. Okay.
Yeah.
So he was in removal proceedings, but didn't tell you about that. So you met in October, and when did you get married?
I then December 31st, last year, 2023, we got married in Vegas.
Okay. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah, like a year and no, not a year, sorry, a month and a half after we started dating,
Yeah.
you know?
Sure. Yeah.
And I had how do I say that? I had all good faith to like help him with the immigration, with the green card through marriage, and all kinds of stuff. However, he didn't disclose to me that he was on removal proceedings,
Mhm.
and I thought he was actually in love with me,
Yes.
but he wasn't in love with me. He just wanted to get married
Hmm.
to fight his removal proceedings, right?
Yes.
Because it's the easiest way. I didn't know none of that.
No, I understand. Yeah. No, no,
Yeah,
yeah, no, nobody knows that. You don't. Yeah, I got you.
and then so later on, when he told me that he had these removal proceedings, I put a two plus two together. Was like, well, that's why he wanted to get married so fast, and he manipulated me to only move in if we were married.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So 6 months down the road, not 6 months down the road, 20 days after we got married, he spent his first night away from home. And then I was like, who does that?
Yeah.
It's like
Did he
20
tell you where he
days,
was going, or did he say why was he?
nothing, nothing.
No,
He
just
didn't say nothing, nothing. And then a few months later was when the first abuse happened. He became aggressive towards me.
mm,
We were talking in the bathroom, and then he started screaming and yelling at me.
mm,
And then I was like, what are you doing? And then he locked the bathroom door.
mm,
And then he pushed me against the wall. He held my arms, and he had his face right close to mine. And he started screaming again and said that we needed to solve our problems right there.
mm,
And otherwise, he wasn't gonna go out with me anymore. We're getting ready to go to a concert.
mm,
And then, luckily, I was able to open the bathroom door and flee the door, and I fled the
mm.
bathroom, right?
Yeah.
And I also fled the house because I
Yeah.
was scared.
Sure. Yeah.
And then I
Now, did
left.
you call the police or anything? Did you call anyone?
No, I didn't
No.
call the police that
Yeah.
day. I was the first incident, so I thought, okay, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I left the house, and then I came back a few hours later. It was my house, right? And then when I came back, he was gone. And then he was gone for like 3 days, you know?
Mm,
And then I was trying to get a hold of him. He wouldn't answer. One day he finally answered, and he said, I'm gonna be gone, and then I'll come back when when I'm ready, something like that. You
yeah.
know what I'm saying? I said,
Yeah.
okay. Then he came back, and then that thing happened again. Like a month later, the same thing happened again.
Hmm.
But I had told him like before, if you scream and yell at me again, and then if you do the same thing to me again,
Hmm.
I'm gonna file for divorce.
Yeah.
Because I don't accept abuse, and I'm not gonna stay in an abusive marriage.
Yeah.
And then when I said that, right away, he was like, well, if she divorces me, I won't be able to apply for my papers,
Your
right?
relief. Yeah. Yeah. It's trying to get
Mhm,
relief. Yeah. Yeah.
you know. So he did that again, and then I asked him again, "Are you screaming at me?" And he said, "Yes, I am." I said, "Okay, so that's it. We're going to divorce."
Hmm.
And then what he did was he left the house
Hmm.
right away. He left the house. He got a hold with a lawyer, and
Hmm.
he said to the lawyer that I was abusing him,
Yeah.
and he wanted to apply for VAWA.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then from there he applied for VAWA. He never came back to the house.
Yeah.
The lawyer instructed him to file a restraining order against me,
Yes.
but the restraining order wasn't successful. The judge denied the restraining order,
Yeah.
and believe it or not, the restraining order was had a move out order as well in the restraining order,
Hmm.
right? For
Yeah.
me, for me to move
For
out
you to move out of your house.
from my own house, the house I pay,
That's so
the
strange.
house my parents live in,
Yeah.
my two children live in. He wanted me to move out of my own house for
Yeah.
him to move back in,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know. So, but the judge denied his request.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what I did after that, I went and filed my own restraining order because I was scared what that guy could done against me,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I filed a restraining order, and it was approved. And then he wasn't able to come back to the house or even to get his stuff.
Hmm.
That was in June. I have his stuff in the house until now
Yeah.
because I kept with the restraining order.
Hmm.
And he uh, went to the lawyer and said that I was the one who abused him. I put a restraining order against him to make it that difficult for him to come into the house to grab his stuff,
Yeah.
And luckily, my restraining order lawyer hooked me up with an immigration lawyer, and then
Yeah.
she said, you should annul the marriage.
Hmm.
annul that marriage because it wasn't legit.
Yes.
Obviously, he was only after
Yeah.
uh, his immigration relief.
Yes.
And then so I applied for annulment. I was granted the annulment.
Okay.
And then I got a hold of a investigator from ICE, a retired investigator from ICE,
Yeah.
for him to kind of help me to report that fraud.
Yes.
So he draw a whole report fraud on
Yes.
him, and then that I had annulled the marriage with the grounds of marriage fraud.
Yes.
And then he disclosed that he was on uh, removal proceedings. He disclosed that I had a restraining order against him. He disclosed that I didn't bother him. He was the who bothered me,
Yes.
but he left the house saying that I was abusing him.
Yeah.
He disclosed all that, and then he sent it to, I think, the Department fraud in Washington.
Hmm. Yes.
And I just learned the other day that VAWA went through. He got a prima facie,
Prima facie. Yeah.
got his biometrics done the other day. So the immigration didn't do anything about the fraud he's committing,
Yeah. Or
you
the
know.
fact that you have a restraining order against him. The judge granted you a restraining order, not him. And the judge reviewed the evidence and they still, yeah, I mean, that makes sense. Did you file a police report against him at any time during that? And, and
Mhm.
did you have him, have you, are, is there a chance that he'll be prosecuted for abuse?
Yes, we are on the process,
Good.
on
Yeah.
the works.
Okay,
Uh,
good. Yeah, stick with that. That's important to stay. Don't let them finagle you out of that because the domestic violence charge is serious against him, and he should have it against him for what he's done. Well, for what he's did to you, slamming you up and locking a door, restraining you, all of that stuff matters. Um,
mhm.
Now, prima facie doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to be granted VAWA. That's just them setting it up for him. Now, it shouldn't be because prima facie just means on the surface it looks like it's good, but they've got to do a lot more research and review to make a determination on that. Now, but I will guarantee you that uh, the bar is extremely low for
Mhm.
VAWA. It's at the rock bottom of just. I think, as I told you when we weren't interviewing, is I had an instance where the person walked into the house. The immigrant walked into the house with a USC spouse, was probably in the house an hour, left, and they still were willing to grant them VAWA.
They come up with a bunch of lies,
Yeah, oh, it's massively. It's one of the
Ah,
most. And it's getting worse now that people have learned how low the bar is. More
yeah.
and more people are filing for
Yeah,
it. And
that's their
and
way of getting. They know if they
yeah,
don't get through marriage,
yeah,
they will be able to get through VAWA.
that's right. And
Even lawyers advise
uh,
them to do that.
yeah, I'm really shocked that you got an immigration lawyer to work with you because they're really bad about it in and of themselves. They do that. So you got that done. And I mean, what has your life been like since you've had to deal with this? Is it, I mean,
It's been a nightmare,
yeah,
because I'm spending a lot of money
yeah,
because even though his restraining order wasn't grant, the temporary wasn't grant, he was still able to get a permanent against me, you know?
yeah,
I don't know how that works, but he has the right to get a permanent against me. So I had to hire a lawyer,
yeah.
defend me, because if I have a restraining order, I lose my license, I
Mhm.
can't work. I'm a US citizen. I have a lot more to lose than him.
That's right.
That's like a illegal
Yeah.
immigrant,
And
you
you
know?
have no recourse, by the way. You have almost no the agency. What is DHS or USCIS? What have they done for you? Have they done anything for
Nothing.
you? Yeah, see
Nothing.
that nothing for you. The no give you any guidance, any help whatsoever. Uh,
I didn't even contact them. You know why? Because my lawyer said that they don't want to listen to the abusers. To them, I am an abuser. because
That's
he
right.
filed the VAWA saying that I abused him. So I'm the abuser.
Yeah.
And then,
No, that's a very important point. Is you're absolutely right. They will not listen to you and they don't want
no,
anything from you.
they don't want anything.
However, the information that you got from your attorney, I mean from the judge, where you got a restraining order against him, they will listen to that because that's not you doing it, that's a judge doing it. So I would at least say you want to send, if you have a restraining order against him, I'd send that to the service because that's not you doing it, that's the judge.
What service do I send it to?
Well, you'd send it to USCIS, you'd send it to USCIS, to FDNS, Fraud Detection National Security, and you would send it to Vermont Service Center. I don't have the address. I can give that to you offline if I need to help you get that. But there's an address you can send it. I would mail a copy of anything you have from the judge, any orders that you have from the judge on that. Now, did you finish your annulment?
Yeah, it's being granted.
So, okay, then you want to send them a copy of your annulment too. That's third party rules. They should follow that. That's not you saying it. That's a judge saying this was a fraudulent marriage. Okay.
Yeah, no, but you know the declaration that the abused person
Yes.
the declaration that they write saying what kind of abuse they went through.
Yeah.
That declaration, he said that my annulment
Yeah.
is fake,
Well, that's
right?
okay. Yeah, that's fine. I don't, yeah, he could say whatever he wants to. That's a court case and a judge granted you an annulment. That's a third party decision. Now, I'm not saying the service doesn't give a flip. I'm almost cussed there. I'm sorry. Give a flip, but that's not the important. What I want you to understand is that you need to send this stuff to them anyway, because that's part of the evidence that the government isn't doing anything to protect U.S. citizens. They have
Yes.
no desire. And unless we do that kind of stuff so that we have the evidence and the buildup of saying, no, I did X, Y, and Z, and they did nothing for me. They
Mhm.
let these people come in and abuse us, and then they just grant them carte blanche. I think that's important to know.
He also said on his declaration that I filed a restraining order to put him on the streets
Yeah.
and to keep him from getting his stuff,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's living at like a homeless on the streets because of me. He's hungry, he's cold, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah,
And
he's going to say everything. I mean, and that's fine. But your evidence is that a judge made a decision on your case on your behalf, and the service needs that information. That is third party. So at least, and I wouldn't worry about your attorney. Again, you should send that stuff anyway because it's from a third party. It's from the courts,
Mhm.
and uh, and it does matter. It should matter, but I'm not sure the service will let it matter. But it's part of what we need to do to fight the government. You've got to be able to say, look, we've got this evidence, we've done these steps, and the government just doesn't care about us as U.S. citizens. And I
Mhm.
don't think they do. I don't think they have any. We got to fight them. We've got to
So
push back on these.
sending to the immigration fraud department is not enough. I have to send because we send it to the immigration fraud department,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. You did
But
to Washington, right?
yeah.
What I would say is the reason I would say it's not enough is because it is going to Washington, which is a black hole. And the place that VAWA is dealt with is at Vermont Service Center. It's in Vermont.
Okay.
That's where they do all of those cases in Vermont. They don't do them anywhere else. So unless you reach out to them, there's a huge delay. I mean, your packet is probably, to be quite frank with you, because you didn't send it to Vermont, you sent it to headquarters, which is where it is. It's sitting in some shelf up there,
Yeah.
waiting on someone to look at for it's in some room with stacks of mail that they're never going to see.
Yeah.
And the other part about the litigation side of it against the federal government is you've got to show proof that you sent this to the right spot, and you want to
Mhm.
send it to Vermont Service Center. Yeah.
Okay.
So
So
you knew this guy. Now, how long did you know him? You only knew him a couple of months before you got married.
yeah.
And by the way, that's no judgment. People do that all the time in this country, and sometimes it works out wonderfully. Yeah, you met a guy who's attractive and nice and says everything that you want to hear. Nobody should judge you on that. That's that happens more often than people think.
Mhm.
And sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't, especially if
Yeah.
people are, you know, I don't think there's any shame in that. And I hope you're not knocking yourself for that. I think that's
I'm just upset. I'm very upset because I didn't know I was being used.
yeah,
I fell in love, you know,
yeah, yeah,
and then I was completely used because everything I do understand that VAWA needs to be there for the real victims.
yes.
You
Absolutely. And I agree. And I've had people who have been real victims and needed VAWA. I've seen them.
I got my citizen my green card through VAWA, but I was a real victim. I
Yeah,
suffered abuse for years and years.
yeah,
I had legit married, two children from the marriage.
yeah,
I had life with him. You
yeah,
know what I'm saying? And I was being abused for years and years. I
yeah,
was able to prove that it wasn't a lie.
yeah,
You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? I had
yeah,
police
yeah,
support, witnesses, ambulance that come around, come by to the crime scene. I had everything. This guy is lying.
yeah.
You know
No,
what I'm
no, no,
saying?
no. And,
As a
and
real victim of abuse, I know he's lying. Do you know what
yes,
I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah. It's right in front of your face. Yes, I see that, and I've seen both. I've seen people who are really abused and needed VAWA, and it's very vital. But there's got to be some way that you check some of that. You know, you can't
Yeah,
just let
there's
people
got to be a
say that.
way that there's got to be a law in place
Yeah,
that they have to check all the evidence. And
yeah,
if they need to talk to the abuser, we should be part of it. If you
yeah,
apply for a U visa, don't you have the abuser don't have to
yeah,
isn't the abusing interviewed for a
yeah,
U visa
yeah.
or a T visa or whatever?
No, no,
No?
no, they don't interview the criminal side of it. They just interview the victim of it. That's yeah.
Okay.
And that those are complete U's and T's are very, there's very few of them, only 10,000 a year.
Yeah.
And
And
so
how
it's
many
not
per hour, do you know?
VAWA is a lot. They do a lot. The problem with VAWA is there's a lot. I don't know the numbers. I'd have to look them up. I can look them up. But what I will tell you is that 90% of the denials of VAWA, and I've seen this, is because people don't, let's say you apply for VAWA and it's not, they don't deny it because you haven't proven the case in the context of you just haven't proved that you were abused. It's this, they'll come back and say, hey, you said that you were abused, but I need this document or I need these documents. And you don't send in the document that they asked for, or you don't respond to their request. They deny it for that reason. They deny it because you didn't respond to a request for some document. They don't deny it because you you were lying or you were fraudulent. They just deny it because, hey, you didn't give us this one piece of paper. That's the vast majority of denials are not because they don't investigate them. I wrote a book, and one of the things that I share in my book is I had a case where the US citizen lived in Los Angeles, California,
Yeah.
and his wife lived in Georgia, and she claimed abuse and they never lived together. As a matter of fact, every time that she said he was abusing her, he was actually in. Now he was not a nice guy, but every time she claimed that he was abusing her, he was in prison in California, and she
Oh
was in
my.
Atlanta, and she was in Atlanta, and they granted her VAWA for that. So yeah, this is it's crazy.
It's
Uh,
defaulted. The system
it's
is
just
defaulted, you
and
know?
and
Yeah.
and 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 that guy now has on his record in some forms that police reports that say he was an abuser. Uh,
Uh-huh.
domestic violence on his in Georgia for
Yeah.
things he couldn't have possibly done.
Yeah.
But they don't
Yeah.
care.
No, they don't investigate it properly. They
They don't look
just
at it.
take their side. That's what we get upset because U.S. citizens are being lied right to left,
Yeah,
and USCIS they don't care. They just care about the victim. They should protect us,
they
not the
should. That's
you
their
know,
job. That's
not the
in the title
alien.
to
Yeah,
protect. Yeah, the
not the
homeland. We don't.
aliens.
Yeah, I'm with you.
You know,
Yeah,
like everybody lied to stay. When I was talking to ICE
yeah.
on the phone to report him, I said, "You're not the first one. Every single one does that
Mhm.
to stay in the country. you know?
Yes, it's happening more and more and more and more. It's really becoming a bad thing to do. It's just, well, and I
And
want
the
people to
other
understand is
thing
that he had to file criminal charges against you. He had to go into a court to lie to you. You now have something sitting out there about you being an abusive person, which can affect your license to be a nurse, right? Can affect your
yeah,
whole lifestyle and
the
everything.
whole
If
life,
that
yeah.
went through, yeah. So
Maybe on my background, if
and
I
your
have
back, yeah, a
yeah,
background investigate. Oh my gosh, you've got all of that you've got to wrestle with now. People don't
yeah,
understand that, and it's very dangerous. So it's dangerous
yeah,
to U.S. citizens, and there's no, and you have no recourse. You have
no.
no recourse whatsoever. Nobody's gonna. You're right. They don't listen to you at all. He can run. He runs amok over you, and you get no say in it. That's
And
exactly.
another thing is that I am like speechless is that the marriage was annulled, which take your rights away
Yeah,
for apply for VAWA because you gotta be married
that's
or
right.
divorced.
Yeah, or
And
divorced,
and
but an annulment says the marriage never occurred, and so that
yeah,
that
and
that
so
makes
how
it invalid. I mean, it's an
yeah, but he applied it and he got prima facie and biometrics with annulled marriage
yeah.
with
Well,
counts of marriage fraud.
I do recommend that you send that up to. I recommend you send it up to Vermont just so they have it, so they can't say they had no record or proof of it. And that's what I would do.
I mail or email them.
Mail it to them. Mail it to them.
Mail?
Certified
Okay.
mail. Make sure they sign for it. That's what I would say. Just a
Mhm.
little cheap certified. And I'll give you the address as soon as I get off here. It's good. So
Any other place I should mail this
nope, that's it. I'll do it to them.
just
Do it.
Vermont,
Yeah.
even though his process is on the go? He
Yeah, his
didn't have
process is on the go, and they'll put it in his file. They'll put it in
a,
his record. Hopefully, they'll get it to him.
I,
Uh, but they
because you're
should still be adjudicating him. That should be, yeah, I'll do that.
they
I
were
mean, you
telling
could send it to your local office, wherever your local office is too. It doesn't hurt that to mail it in, but don't do it. Don't do the tip line. It's useless. So,
yeah
oh,
what UCSI local office or
yep.
that the process center that those that
You
we
can
go
do it to
for
both. You can do it to both is okay. That you cover. Um, I appreciate you. I have another meeting at 4.
Mhm.
So I'm going to let this one be short. I think you've given me some really good information. I would like to just end this with, this is for informational purposes and for education. Uh, the views expressed are not mine, but I do want to say that I am going to upload this onto YouTube for education purposes and also to share if we can with legal teams that might be interested in pursuing some case against the federal government. Would you be agreeable to me placing this on YouTube for
Yes,
information
yes,
purposes?
yes.
All right. I hope
How
we
many
could talk
people you have
again.
so far?
I'm
uh
sorry.
how many people helping you for interviews you have so far?
I've got about 7. And that's mainly me because I have a short amount of time to be able to do a lot of this. But I think I'm up to 7 interviews right now, and
Seven?
uh, and still, yeah, and I want to do 130, 140. It's
Yeah,
it's finding the
okay.
time.
Mm-hmm.
I am retired, but I do a lot of work and a lot of other stuff too. So I do the recordings as I can,
Okay.
and they're
Okay.
coming. They
Yeah,
come in
hopefully we
spurts.
have some luck, and then also need to find a way to change the law too,
Absolutely. Yes, I do
Yeah,
appreciate it.
yeah.
Thank you very much. And we will keep in touch. So I appreciate
Yeah,
you
send
very
me the
much.
address for Vermont, please,
I
when you
sure
have.
will. I will.
Okay.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much.
All right,
Bye
thanks.
bye.
Bye-bye. Let me see if I can.